Hello everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the Viet vegan because I'm Viet and I'm vegan, and today's video is partially sponsored by Earth's Own. I use their coffee creamer pretty religiously at this point. I have it literally every day in my coffee. In this video there are clips from I want to say several months. You can tell based on whether or not my nails have the same design. And so these clips are not in chronological order, but they are me cooking and cleaning out my fridge. Anyway, it's been a few months. I kept getting sick, Bean got sick, and then Eddie went on a work trip for 3 weeks. And then, yeah, it's just been a pretty big adjustment. And like things are going really well. Bean loves their preschool. I love the teachers. I also signed up to be the treasurer of Bean's preschool. That's also probably not helping, but it's a co-op preschool, so like I have to pick something, and I chose this. In this video, I'm cooking up different things from my fridge. I had some stuff left over from Thanksgiving, so like I had like green beans, I had a bunch of vegetables. These are potatoes from Thanksgiving that have lasted like a month and a bit. So this is the last of the potatoes, and some kale that I need to use up to make, I don't know if this is like authentic zuppa toscana, but like this is the vibe that I was going for. I wanted a potato creamy kale-y sausagey soup, and I actually had all the ingredients on hand, and I was like, okay, perfect, this uses up the potatoes. And I have some Gusta sausages here, and I use some Earth's Own oat creamer for this because I'm treating it kind of like half and half, so like you can add it to savory dishes as well. Like typically I think zuppa toscana uses like heavy whipping cream, but I actually don't really love like a super creamy soup anyway. I find it, I don't know, maybe this is not quite the vibe, but anyway, this soup was delicious. Bean actually really likes the cooked kale, which I wasn't expecting, and they like the sausages and the potatoes in this too. So it was a big hit. I really liked it. Eddie has been taking it to lunch for work this week. I think it's been good. This made, I think, 7 or 8 servings, I want to say. This pot makes me cook so much food. Like the bigger the pot, actually I can't even blame the pot, because even if I use a smaller pot, I will overstuff the pot until I realize I have to transfer it into a bigger pot. If you want the recipe for this, I'll post it on thevegan.com. I didn't have nice crusty sourdough bread to go with this. I kind of wish I would bake it. Like I have my starter in my fridge still, but I just haven't used it for the past like 4+ years. Basically since Bean was born. Actually, that's not true. Bean had one of their first solids was like a heel of sourdough crust, but in any case, I haven't had the spoons to make bread. A nice crusty sourdough bread with this, like really grainy, really sour, would be so tasty. I actually bought this orange cast iron pot specifically to bake bread, and I remember when I got it, I was like, oh my god, this pot is ginormous. When am I ever going to use this? And then I realized that leftovers are key, and that I have no chill when it comes to making soups, and I can only make giant batches of soup. But like, look at this pot. I'm stuffing it, but it's not overstuffed, and like this is a comfortable amount of food inside this pot, and this is like 8 servings, and it's actually going a lot faster than I expected. Like I think there's only 2 or 3 servings left in the fridge. My one tip with cooking with the Earth's Own oat creamer, I think is actually very similar to cooking with like the dairy version as well, I just don't remember because it's been like 10 years, is to just add it at the end and then just like heat it through at a gentle simmer and not a rolling boil. Admittedly, I forgot that the stove was on when I was pouring soup into my containers, and so it was like boiling for a little bit, and then the soup separated. So don't do what I did, but it still tastes great. So it just is not as visually appealing, but it's still very delicious, very creamy. That's my hot tip. This next part here, I am making nachos. Now Eddie really loves Impossible. I like it, I can't always afford it, and so like normally I would make 2 packs of Impossible to put on top of the nachos, because in this economy we're trying to save a buck or 2. I'm cutting it with tofu. So I'm using 1 block of grated firm tofu. I think it's extra firm, and then adding it in. I actually like to stir fry it a little bit first so it loses some of the moisture before, and then I take it out, and then I cook the ground Impossible, and then I brown that a little bit, and then I add the tofu back in with some taco seasoning. And it is really tasty, and like this is a good thing that I like to meal prep. I just keep it in the fridge. I have it as like a quesadilla filling, or Eddie likes to put it on burrito bowls or for nachos. I think in a previous life, aka before I had a child, I would have been a lot more adventurous with my nacho toppings. I don't know, I think just these days I really simplified it, so I add like an onion, cilantro, and lime salsa topping. I don't know what you call that, but it's like a very common taco topping. And then lettuce. And that's pretty much it. Bean doesn't like tomatoes. I didn't have tomatoes to put on it. Plus we had salsa anyway. And then I have sour cream on the side. So it's very no frills nachos. And I basically am enticing Bean to eat their protein if I have it on a chip vessel. And it's actually been a pretty big hit. Bean won't eat the lettuce though, but they will sometimes eat the onion. I don't know. The vegetable intake is not great on this meal for my child, but you know what? They eat like their weight in berries, so I'm not really concerned about it. But anyway, I think at this point in time, I had to use up some cilantro and some lettuce, so this was perfect, and I just used it all up. In my last video about cleaning out the fridge, a lot of you were mentioning how you have a hard time clearing out your fridge. Some of you said that it was because you just get overwhelmed by the leftovers, and some of you were saying that you are a little inexperienced with cooking, and so it's like you're having a hard time figuring out ways to do that. And like I know some people use AI to do that, and like you can use AI, although I feel like people don't realize the environmental impact that using AI has, because it's a lot of resources to like spit out one thing, right? So anyway, I try to avoid using AI. It's like the same as using like Google, because like every time I think you Google something, it like uses up like a kettle, like boiling a kettle of water, like that's the equivalent of the amount of energy output, and I don't even know what it is for AI. I feel like it's more. In any case, being very bad at cooking in the very beginning is like this really cool magical journey where you start to build your foundation of learning how to cook. And for most people, this starts when you're in college, you're dirt poor. And also this is like also the economy right now. Like everyone is in the same boat where you are forced to use the ingredients that you have and finish them. I grew up eating this way because like my family were boat people when they came here. They were boat refugees. So they came here with like literally nothing in their pocket. We had to use every single ingredient. And so my mom got really, really good at cooking, and like she also cooked with her family. So like she learned from that sort of sense. But like you start tasting, you start experimenting, and when things are too bitter or too sweet or too spicy or too oily, you learn how to correct those mistakes. There's like different methods depending on what it is. Like sometimes it's adding water, sometimes adding more seasoning, sometimes adding like some acid like lime, and sometimes it's just dousing it in hot sauce and ketchup just to make it palatable. In my era of like cooking from scratch, I think I probably spent like 2 to 3 hours making dinner starting at 6 o'clock, so I was hangry by 8 o'clock. But now that I have a kid, I have to cook on a very specific schedule lest I have a super hangry, irritable child. And honestly, it's better for me too. I find that I am hungry at the same times, and I really ought to be eating more on a schedule. So I've learned to cook more quick meals and just trying to get like the basics done. Like for example, this Hainan chicken rice where I just use like a paste and a rice cooker with tofu and steaming veggies on top. The veggies are actually very, very soft, but it's still fine. It's still edible. And this is just my set it and forget it era, or my quick meals in under 30 minutes era, which I'm not mad about. It's been very convenient and I'm sure helpful for you, but I do miss sometimes the cooking from scratch era. I'll be there again soon. If you want the recipe for this that doesn't use a paste, I do have it on my Instagram. It was a sponsored post from a few months back, so it's there if you want it. Can you scoop the coffee?
Coffee bean.
Oh, gentle, gentle please. If you're not gentle, then you're all done helping.
Oh. Sorry, Mama.
It's okay. Here, you want to hold out the spoon and I can pour it in there? I gotta refill that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. But leave it there, leave it there. Leave it, leave it, leave it.
Whoa, boy. That one?
That's okay, yeah.
Cover it up.
I just need a little bit more, just a tiny bit more.
Not that one?
No, not a full one. Like a little bit, like that much.
Okay, yeah.
You can do one more little one like that. Like that.
There, all done.
All done, thank you. Let's grind them up.
Inside those.
Those are Mama's vitamins. You know how you take your vitamins on a spoon? Mama just swallows Mama's vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
Not outside. Just keep everything in. Hey, stop. If you can't listen, you're all done helping.
Now your turn.
Okay. put this on just because. Hey, I'm gonna put this on just because it's likely to spill. So I just want. Okay, now you can spin.
Falling down.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's okay.
If it's just a little bit, that's okay.
It already falling.
That's okay.
It already falling here.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's it. Oh.
All right, put it away. It's done. It's done. Hey, don't touch it. You wanna try pushing it? Hang on. You've made it uneven. Do you want a vacuum? Here. Here's a bunch of you wanna press the middle button? Thank you. Hey, no, press it just once.
This one.
Okay, all done. I at one point got this like ADHD fixation on tikka masala, and I've never I don't love tikka masala. It's fine. It's not my favorite curry. But there was one day where I was like, I want to make tikka masala from scratch. And so I started at 5 o'clock, which meant that dinner wasn't ready until like 7. Thankfully, Bean was actually very understanding and very lenient about it, because I think they took a nap that day, so they were like totally fine. They were just playing. But I bought these fenugreek leaves, and I only need like a tablespoon of them. I don't know why they sell them just such giant batches. But in any case, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with all these leaves? So I looked up that you can just dry them and then just store them, because I've seen them as like an herb, like a dried herb that you can add to your dishes. And I was like, oh, I don't know why I had to buy fresh ones. So anyway, I looked up how to dry them, and so this way I don't waste them. And if I ever get the fixation again where I need to make Indian food, so delicious but so time consuming, then I have fenugreek leaves at my disposal. So once it's dried, I actually put it in the oven. I was making kale chips, which you'll see in the next little segment here. But once the kale chip were done, I just like turned off the oven and then let it like just chill for a little bit. And then I just put this inside the oven to like dry them out. So instead of taking like several days to dry out, it just took like 1 day. So then the instructions that I was reading said to rub the leaves to like kind of break them up. And then I just put them in this leftover container of, it was like a tiramisu jar from Sushi Cafe in Toronto, which is like my favorite cafe ever, because it's like Japanese pastries and stuff, and it's all vegan. And so yeah, anyway, now that just lives in my pantry, and now I don't have waste, and now I have fenugreek leaves whenever I want to make Indian food, which I don't know when that'll be, but I have it now. This also happened a few months ago, also with Indian food, when I had a craving for dal with curry leaves in them, because like it just adds like so much more flavor. But of course the bag of curry leaves that I bought was like ginormous. It's enough curry leaves to last my entire life. And so I washed all the leaves. I picked them in, like I picked them off the branches, and then I split them into 2 different bags, gave one bag to my aunt-in-law, and then now I have a bag of curry leaves whenever I want frozen. So I mean, I think that's just like Indian food in general. You just have like a lot of frozen ingredients, but like now I'm prepared anytime I want curry. For the rest of my life. But at one point I was watching an old video of me and Bean eating kale chips, and Bean saw the video and was like, I want kale chips. Have they had kale chips since they were an infant? No. Will they eat these? Unsure. But I was like, you know what? Sure, let's do it. So I bought some kale and I made kale chips. I don't have a recipe for this. It's just basic. It's just vibes only. Olive oil, nooch, and salt. I probably actually added a little bit too much salt. I probably should have chilled out with salt. I also added garlic powder. I don't remember adding garlic powder, but apparently I'm at a stage in my life where if I don't record things, I don't remember that they happened. So anyway, I just mixed this up with all those ingredients, lay it out in a nice flat even layer so that they air out in the oven. Do I remember at what temperature I cooked them at? No, I do not. But I just cooked it until they were dry. And then I did it again with the second batch. And Bean actually ate like 3/4 of these 2 batches of kale chips. I've never seen them eat this many greens in my life. But what I've learned from this situation is that anytime Bean is eating a vegetable, I need to like run with it, because the next day they might not even eat it, because that is exactly what happened. I served them kale chips the next day with lunch, and they took 1 bite and they're like, bleh, I hate this. I never want to eat this again. can. However, we do have this book called The Vegetable ABCs, and kale is in it, and every time they see the page with kale, they ask for kale chips, even though the last time they had it, they hated it. So I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. Toddlers are just unpredictable. You never know. My takeaway is if they're eating something with lots of nutrition, like a vegetable, I'm just gonna let them eat it to their heart's content because I never know if they're gonna eat it again. So for this last meal, I am using a lot of like leftover vegetables. You can see some of this green onion is a little sad, and these green beans, I keep buying green beans thinking like, oh yeah, we're gonna eat them. But I know that Eddie doesn't like green beans, like he just doesn't like the flavor, so he won't even, like he'll just pick them out of his food. So I just like am not incentivized to cook them. Bean and I really like green beans, and so usually it's fine, but then I just like don't think to cook them in food because I feel bad about like the waste from Eddie picking them out, right? So anyway, I keep buying green beans like for Thanksgiving or aspirationally and being like, yeah, I want to eat this vegetable. I'm gonna switch it up a bit. Yeah, I just have to like pick away at it because like a bag of green beans actually goes such a long way. But I love green beans. Bean really likes green beans, although they have told me explicitly that they like it when my mom cooks them better. I don't know what exactly my mom is doing differently from how I'm cooking them, but I think they're just really soft and I like them a little bit more crunchy. But in any case, I am using one of my pocket picks of burnt out meals, which is stir fry with a bunch of vegetables. I use soy curls and I kind of like velvet them a little bit. You also don't have to use soy curls. You can use your favorite pan fried tofu or just like puffy tofu, vegan chicken, whatever protein that you want. Honestly, you can do whatever. There's also the beefy style TVP that actually would be really good in this too. I would also velvet it a little bit and then cook it maybe in like a little bit of oyster sauce so like each piece gets more flavor. I probably should have done that with these soy curls as well, but anyway. And you just have to cook the vegetables first just to get the texture that you want, and then you take them out of the pan. It's very similar to how I make japchae as well. If you've made my Mongolian beef recipe before, I do the same thing with soy curls, except I fry them once they've been coated in cornstarch. This is the much lazier version. You don't get the exact same effect, but it is somewhat similar. I hydrate the soy curls. I get these from Coven, by the way. I always get questions about where I get these from. You can also buy it online. You can buy it directly from Butler Soy Curls or Vegan Supply, or I think even Amazon. I usually get the bulk, like 12 kilo bag of soy curls, and then I keep them in my freezer because like they can be stored at room temperature, but they go rancid faster that way because like they're still soybeans, right? So anyway, I cook this up and yeah, it is a great way of using vegetables. I'm using this pancit noodle that I get from T&T's. I've seen so many different versions of this. You basically just boil it in broth. So once I cook all the vegetables and the soy curls, I take them out of the pan and like I cook everything in the pan in components and then like I stir everything and combine it afterwards. So I bring the broth to a boil. I'm using some Better Than Bouillon vegetable broth here, mixing it all up, and then I just add the noodles. And once the noodles have rehydrated and absorbed all of the water, they're usually cooked all the way through. I like to add a little bit of extra oil to help the noodles like have more slip to them. I mix everything together once it's heated through, and it's delicious. This is great meal prep, and Bean really likes this.
I to see all inside.
Inside what?
I to show all inside.
Inside this? You see? Is there anything in there?
And noodles behind the broth.
It's not really broth. It's like gonna cook into the noodles because the noodles are dry when Mama has them in the pantry, and they soak up the liquid, and that's what makes them cook through. And once the noodles have soaked up all the liquid, then we add in the veggies back in. The veggies and the soy chicken. And then once the noodles are cooked through, then you add the veggies and the soy curls that you've already cooked back in, give everything a mix, and this is where you would season to taste. So if you like a saucier stir fry, you can add like the bachan's like barbecue Japanese style sauce or like a yakisoba sauce. I like a combo of dark soy sauce and just regular soy sauce. That's just like the Vietnamese style. And then for extra like salt, you can add like mushroom broth powder. But because I already added the broth to the noodles to cook, like I find it's like already halfway there. Season to taste, add white pepper, black pepper, whatever you like, top of sriracha. You know, it's very versatile and very easy. So if you want the full recipe for this, I'll leave it linked in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching. Again, apologize for the lack of consistency. I really am trying my best, but life is just not into me working these days. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a delicious day.